Well, folks, depending on when you're watching this video, we're about 15-ish games into the Calgary Flames 24-25 season, and so far, the results are fairly promising. Sure, the Flames are in the first year of what some are calling a rebuild and the Flames are calling a retool. You can call it what you want, but the idea is they're getting younger and trying to add some young talent via the draft primarily with a mind towards becoming a contender before too long. And so far, the Flames have proven themselves to be a team that, sure, they might be a little bit light on high-end talent, but they've shown a resiliency and a work ethic that will basically force teams to have to outwork them to beat them. And in a long NHL season, you do not want to have to outwork your opponents too often. You want to be able to turn on the skill and beat them. The Flames are a team that forces even skilled teams to have to work, and that's commendable. That's a big first step in getting the Flames to where they want to be. But the biggest thing that will either help the Flames become a contender or hinder them and potentially stretch out the length of the retool rebuild process is their center depth. Let's talk about their centers. More importantly, is this the year that the Calgary Flames can find their vaunted number one center, their center of the future, in the NHL entry draft? In terms of centers, the Flames have two pretty good ones and then a bunch of question marks. Their reliable veteran centers are Nazem Kadri and Michael Backlund. Now, if you're a longtime fan of the Flames or of the NHL in general, they're probably familiar names because they're both north of 30 and they're both pretty known quantities. Michael Backlund has developed a reputation over the years as being a really good 200-foot player. And while he's probably not going to win any awards for goal scoring or anything like that, he's someone who's pretty consistently been getting votes for the Selke Trophy as the NHL's top defensive forward. He's never won it. The highest he finished in voting is fourth, but he's been consistently in the mix, and he's one of the more consistent players in that role in the National Hockey League. Kadri, meanwhile, is a little bit more one-dimensional. He's an offensive player whose main contribution is being able to score big goals big times. He doesn't have the two-way chops that Backlund has, but he's arguably a better goal scorer. So right away, you sort of have two veteran players with some complementarities, a more of defensive-minded two-way center in Backlund and a more offensive-minded up-tempo center who scores goals in Kadri. And beyond that, it gets thin pretty quick. The Flames don't really have a lot of established centers beyond that. Their third center for a good chunk of the season has been Yegor Sharangovich, a converted winger. Their fourth line center has been either Kevin Rooney or Justin Kirkland, both of whom are, Kirkland's 28, Rooney's 30. Neither of them are up-and-comers. They're sort of known quantities, and they're good depth bodies. On the farm in the AHL, the Flames have three centers of various strengths. They've been using, their captain for the Wranglers is Clark Bishop, who's another sort of Justin Kirkland-ish veteran player. He's played some NHL games, but he's, a good AHL body, very consistent. They have Sam Morton, who they signed out of college last year, who's in his first year of pro hockey. They have Rory Cairns, who's another sort of offensive-minded guy. He's in his third year of pro hockey, but he's sort of been up and down. He's played a bit in the East Coast League. He's played, in and out of the AHL lineup. He's very hot and cold, but when he's hot, he's very hot. He's amongst the American League's leaders in goals right now because he's gotten off to a great start. Of the guys they have in the AHL, none of them really move the needle as high-end prospects. And we'll get into this momentarily, but, if you look at the Flames prospect depth chart, it's fairly low on centers to the point where in our recent top prospect rankings at Flames Nation, there's basically no centers on it. Let's check out the Flames top 10 prospects as voted by the Flames Nation staff during the summer. Not a lot of centers here. In fact, there's no centers here amongst the top 10. You see some defensemen, Zane Parekh, Hunter Bustevich, Jeremy Poirier, Etienne Morin, Henry Muse, half of the top 10 is defensemen. You have a goaltender in Dustin Wolf. You have wingers in Sam Honzik, Andrew Basha, Matt Vagridden, and William Stromgren. No centers, though. And if you're the Flames and if you want to become a contender in the near future, you kind of need to find a center, especially a high-end center. And the most efficient way to find a high-end center is through the NHL Draft. Now, the best way to get a good center, arguably the best way to get a great center, is through the NHL Draft. So very quickly, here are the picks that the Flames currently own as of the first week of November in the 2025 draft. There are a lot of conditions here, so I've simplified this a bit. The New Jersey first-round pick owed to Calgary in the Jacob Markstrom trade is first-round protected. The Florida first-round pick to Calgary from the Matthew Tkachuk trade is protected as well. If New Jersey looks like they're going to draft top 10, that pick shifts to next year. Same with Florida. If they're going to draft top 10, they hold on to that pick and it shifts to next year. And there's a bunch of complicated conditions regarding where Calgary's pick is, but the long story short is that the Flames owe Montreal a first-round pick from the Sean Monahan trade. The way it will probably end up, if neither of New Jersey or Florida are in the bottom 10 of the league, the Flames will get both those picks, and then either Calgary's pick or Florida's pick, depending on where Calgary finishes, that would go to Montreal. So the Flames will have probably 2 first-round picks, barring other moves. Similarly, they'll have 2 second-round picks, barring other moves, their own, and Colorado's from the Andrew Mangiapane trade with Washington. They have their own 3rd, 5th, 6th, and 7th-round picks. And as noted, they owe a first-round pick to Montreal, and as part of the Matthew Tkachuk trade, Florida's owed a 4th-round pick from the Flames in whatever year their first-rounder shifts. So probably the Flames' 4th-rounder will go to Florida. So long story short, for this exercise, the Flames look like they're going to have 2 first-round picks in this year's draft and 2 second-round picks. Now, let's take a quick look at how the 2025 draft class is shaping up. Now, we're basing this off of the preliminary rankings from Daily Faceoff's Stephen Ellis. Stephen is very good. We're biased, but he's really, really good. These are the players that are listed as centers. Michael Misa is an exception. He was listed as a left winger, but because Central Scouting lists him as a center, we're going to call him a center here too. He's been playing primarily center with Saginaw this year. So we'll lump him in with these guys. So this is what it looks like to be the top 10 centers based on his rankings. James Higgins from Boston College is at 1st overall. 4th is Anton Frondell, a Swedish center from Djurgårdens in Sweden. Roger McQueen is at 5th from the Brandon Wheat Kings. He is big and physically developed and an October birthday, so you can make a case for him being the Western Hockey League equivalent of Sean Monahan in his draft year. He's that kind of player. Misa is 6th from Saginaw. He plays with Flames first-round pick Zane Parik. Ivan Ryabikin used to play in Russia. He's in the process of moving to Muskegon of the USHL. Caleb Desnoyers is from the Moncton Wildcats. He currently plays with Etienne Morin. William Moore plays for the U.S. National Development Team. Jake O'Brien from Brantford of the OHL. Cole Reshny from the Victoria Royals in the Western League. And Cole McKinney, also from the U.S. National Development Team. The highest end guys here, Higgins is sort of in a class of his own, or is considered in a class of his own right now. Frondell and McQueen and Misa are also seen as pretty high end guys. And then as you sort of get down there, you're sort of getting to guys that might be more of your, second line, high-end second line, or, high-end middle six centers in terms of, some of the guys further down. Rybkin, because he's Russian, there's still question marks about how his game would translate. Desnoyers, he's got some size to him, and the rest of them, they're all pretty good, but it's still early, so we're getting a sense of how these guys will shake out. But, if you're the Flames and you're, a Flames fan and you're wishing upon hope that they'll finish very low because you think that's their best chance of getting a really high-end center, you're not wrong. That is probably the best way of them getting a high-end center this year, or one of these guys further down being available and then popping in their post-draft years. So if you're the Flames, you probably will dream of a Higgins or a Frondell or a McQueen, and you might, quote-unquote, settle for someone like Desnoyers or William Moore. And they're good. You're not going to cry yourself to sleep for settling for one of those guys. But they're also probably not guys that are going to be franchise changing or franchise defining players. They'll be very good players potentially, but they might not be the guys that you hope upon hope and, dream upon dreams to have them change your team's, playoff hopes or anything like that. But like I said, it's still early, and as we go throughout the season, we'll do more of these updates. We're looking at the prospect base, and as we're going forward, and as the draft situation looks a little bit cleaner and clearer for the Flames, we'll sort of profile in more detail from folks like Daily Faceoff and elsewhere, kind of what kind of players these guys look to be, and what kind of players look to be available when the Flames select. So that's all I got for now. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe, share it with your friends, and be sure to jump in the comments and let me know what you think. And, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.